In every marriage, more than a week old, there are grounds for divorce. The trick is to find and continue to find grounds for marriage. Robert Anderson, American playwright and screenwriter. All right. Good morning. Welcome. I was taking a sip there. Welcome to another episode of the Liberty Dad podcast, a discussion on politics and culture. I'm your host, DL, America's most objective, libertarian, maybe even America's greatest podcasting dad. Who knows? We'll see. If you're tuning in live, thank you so much for giving me your time so early. What are we talking about today? All right, so if you're a regular listener of the show, you know that Fridays are my day to get away from the politics. We're not talking about Trump or what Congress is doing. Try to get away from that. We just talk about, you know, dad stuff, something related to dads. Now, ideally, I would have a dad on the show, but I don't always, I'm not always so good about scheduling dads. I've had a few hiccups with that, just because I'm so busy and I sometimes will drop and forget to, get people scheduled and whatnot, follow up with them. I've had to apologize a few times. So anyway, so today I don't have a dad, but in lieu of that, I just go out and I look for things that are dad related. Maybe there's a story, kind of like a culture story related to children or related to dads or maybe related to relationships. And I just kind of give my perspective on that. So I want to talk about trad life, marriage, relationships, that kind of a thing. And I have a specific focus. We'll get there. Um, I'm very careful to give relationship advice just because I don't really see myself as the type to give that kind of advice. However, sometimes I get on social media and the advice I see or the things that I see are so bad. I'm like, well, if that's the level of conversation out there, I'm practically Hitch at this point. Do you remember the movie Hitch? It had Will what's his name? Will Slap the dude that's Will Smith. It had Will Smith in it, and he was like a date doctor type kind of guy. Like he didn't advertise; it was word of mouth, I think. And guys would pass his number around, and he would help guys learn how to date, I guess, like learn how to pick up a chick and not in this weird, like, bro, you just got to do this. You got to ignore them. You got to talk to her friend. You got to do this. Like he didn't do that. He was just trying to help guys, get past their fear of, talking to a woman and get past their fear of just being who they are. And he learned something along the way. It was a really fun story. To be honest with you, so I've broken this down before. From my observation, Facebook, if you go through the reels, you actually see some pretty decent advice, right? Like there are couples, for some reason they seem to only be on Facebook, but there are couples that either do humorous marriage type stuff, or there are some that give actual meaningful advice. And the ones that give meaningful advice, they do it from both perspectives. So they do it from the man's perspective and they do it from the woman's perspective, and it's really great. My favorite is Katie McCabe. So if you're ever looking for something, go look up Katie McCabe. They're not going to BS you with like, oh, if you want to be the king of the house, this is what you got to do, and you got to look for this kind of a woman and blah. No, they're like, look, if you're married, here's some things that if you're a woman, you shouldn't do. Here are some things if you're a man, you shouldn't do. And they give both perspectives. Her and her husband both do this. And they make some really great videos. And I'm always like, oh wow, that's a really good idea. Like, never thought of it that way. Um, but then I go to Twitter. And on Twitter or X, I'm like, oh my gosh, the advice is so bad. So, um, so I look at it and I go, well, since I'm on X, Twitter, frequently, I'm like, well, my advice is between what you see there and the Katie McCabe's of the world. So it may not be the greatest advice, but I assure you, it's far from some of this other stuff that's just so bad. And what makes it interesting, a lot of the accounts on X, they seem to be that the ones like the red pill guys, the ones a lot of them, they seem to be either single or anonymous. What's that saying? Never trust a skinny chef. It's like why are some of these accounts so big and they don't seem to have that life that people keep talking about like they want. And so for me, I just am like, if you're going to take marriage advice, if you're going to take dating and relationship advice, uh, probably should be a real person whose face and name is attached to the advice that they're giving. Number two, they should probably show you some things like, here's my marriage. I've been married for so many years. Here's this date night we went on. Here's this thing my kid did. Let me tell you a little bit about this, right? Like they should show you that yes, they they are living that life they're telling you you can have. That way like, oh yeah, it is possible. And so that's kind of the genesis for this episode today. Is I'm just gonna talk about a couple things. So let me show you this first video. And this first, so I have two videos and a bunch of commentary that I saw on social media. The second video is the one that really spurred the idea for this episode. But then as I was kind of like putting the show together and whatnot, I saw something else and I was like, oh, okay, this will be good. And then I constructed it. So we're going to talk about this first video, and then I'm going to show you some slides. Slides. This is not a PowerPoint, guys. I promise. I call them slides because of that's the naming situation with the software that I use, but they're not really slides. So there's no PowerPoint here. But so let's watch this video. I'm just making this worse. Oh my
hate
goodness.
to call out my own party, but the young girls on the right promoting this like trad wife bullshit. I just want to make sourdough for my husband. That's great. I'm all for it. I promote traditional values. I understand. I have been working since I was very young. I don't really plan on stop being working. I suggest you find a hobby that makes you money. But you guys, guess what?
Oh, there it is. She's like, I don't have a problem with all this. And then she throws in this but. It's very subtle, but there's a but. What is it that they say? Whenever someone says but, disregard everything they said. And so, like this, a lot of people will do this. They'll say, "Oh, I support this and this and this, but," and sometimes they don't use the word "but." Technically, it's in there though, because if you present something and you say, "Yeah, I really support this," and then what comes out of your mouth a few moments later is a counter response to what you just said. And it's not like saying, "Hey, I want to balance this out." Like, yes, you can have this Here are the caveats. Here are the things that you need to consider in order to get that. If it's not that, it's basically a but. And that's where she goes with this. And you can see the mocking tone. She's like, I just want to make sourdough bread for my man. Like, that's fine. There's really nothing wrong with that. And there are women that are out there that get to make sourdough bread or whatever, for their husband. No buts. They're there. Not all of them, but they're there. So let's continue.
What? Guess what, baby girl? That lifestyle working out, a man, a provider, you just get to sit at home, bake bread every day, slim to none.
Okay. Not true. Not true at all. I looked it up. The number of households that a married couple with kids where the woman does not work. I better double check my what I posted about that, because I just want to make sure I get it right. Because it is possible. And where is it? Where let me find my, because I looked it up because I was curious and I was like, oh, is that really true? Like, okay. So boop boop boop. I'm looking. I should have had this one queued up, but I didn't. I just didn't think about it. Oh, here it is. Here's what I posted. So she said slim to none, and I commented on somebody. I said, LOL, slim to none. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, so it's from the government, we can trust this number. Quote, among married coupled families with children, in 66.5% of these families, both parents were employed. Okay. That means it means 43.5% where the woman does not work. Almost half, not quite, right? Roughly almost 40%, or a little bit more than 40%, right? It's like 44%, almost 44%. That's almost half where married couple with children and the woman doesn't have to work or doesn't work. I don't know about doesn't have to, but doesn't. So yes, it is possible. It's not slim to none. Is it harder today? Perhaps. Perhaps we have constructed a world where it's more difficult. And that's a conversation for another day, because there's so many elements to that part, to that issue. So when she says slim to none, I don't know that she knows what she's talking about. I think she's just making it up. There's this attitude out there of, oh, two people have to work. In many cases, yes, but not all cases. So it is possible. And a lot of it is, what kind of lifestyle are you trying to have? If you're trying to have a lifestyle where you have a lot more stuff and you live in a major city, probably going to have to work. If you live in a smaller town and you're like, look, we're going to have a more humble life, then your likelihood goes up. So a lot of it depends on what you want in the first place. Now, is it possible to, like, the old, I'm going to marry rich? Perhaps. Now, I generally tell people, I'm like, look, how do you say this on a family friendly show? Um, when you're looking for somebody and you are looking for something, they are also looking for something. And so if you're a woman and you're like, I just want to be taken care of, I want the man to earn all the money, I want him to buy me all kind of nice stuff, there is some cost with that. He just doesn't do that for some nice wife, right? Like, I mean, some guys might do that, but like, he's looking for something. Maybe he wants you to take care of the home. Maybe he wants to raise children. Maybe he's going to be gone a lot because he's working really hard. And, the job that he's chosen to be able to provide that life requires that he's gone. Maybe this is where we get to the slightly not so family friendly. Maybe he's the kind of character that you might read about in 50 Shades of Grey. You following what I'm putting? You picking up what I'm putting down? Like, there is something that comes with everything. If you want a girl boss type, then you get the girl boss, let me say attitude for lack of a better word. I don't mean that in a negative sense, There are women out there, like, it's cool. Like, I'm not throwing shade. There are women out there that want to work, and they have a job, and, maybe they're high powered, or maybe they just have a regular job and they just wanna do something, right? They don't wanna stay at home, and that's cool. But there's always gonna be a trade-off, always, of some sort. And so you have to understand, what are the trade-offs for whatever it is I'm looking for? And there's no one single trade-off. There are different ones because people are unique. Let's continue listening to, I believe this girl's name is Sarah. And she may or may not be I don't really know who she is. It came up in my feed. I saw it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Let's listen.
I would say none that that's going to work out for you, or quite literally anyone you know. You're actually setting yourself up for failure, because it could not be easier, if that's what you're going to pursue, to be trapped by a man. Okay? Also,
Trapped by a man. Now, I want you to listen to the I want you to hear. No, I want to tell you the conflict in her own words. She's contradicting herself. So earlier on in this video, she's mocking women. Oh, I just want to make bread for my man. I want to make sourdough. Okay. And then she's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. But then she turns around and she basically says, well, that kind of attitude is being trapped by a man. So if it this is it's so weird that I kind of have to explain this, because it seems so obvious to me. If you're a woman and that's the kind of life that you are seeking, and you find that life, you are not trapped. You got what you were looking for. Now, is there a potential trap? Somewhat. Yes, but not really. It's only in the context of, if later you get a divorce. Because if you have a man that's been providing for, say, 10 years, and you've been the trad wife for 10 years, and then for whatever reason, you split up. He has 10 years of work experience. You do not. Now you need to get a job, more than likely. Unless you've married very, very wealthy, you probably have to get a job, because now the bills that you have will have to be paid, and you're single, right? And you don't have, there's 10 years that you are not in the workforce. So you're basically 10 years behind, right? These, and is that me saying this to dissuade you? No. That's just saying, like, these are the trade-offs. Everything is in life. There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. It's one of my favorite quotes from Thomas Sowell. And that is a trade-off. If you are the sourdough making trad wife, then after so many years, you're going to be out of the workforce, and it may be more difficult than earlier, because you're going to have to go to an employer and be like, yeah, I was a housewife. And while that's work in itself, right? You can call it a job. That doesn't generally go toward, like, an employer's vision of, is this person got the experience that I'm looking for? I mean, it might, depending on what it is that you're doing. Like, if you're doing childcare and you're like, yeah, I've been raising, 3 kids for the last 10 years, and I homeschooled them, and I did this and I did this and I did this. Well, then going and working in childcare, that may actually go toward it. But in many cases, it's like, if you're like, okay, I'm going to go and be a salesperson while I was a stay-at-home mom. Okay, did you sell anything? Right? Like, well, then there's no experience there. Right? But again, this is a trade-off. There's nothing wrong with either one. Nothing. Like, my mother was a housewife for probably the last 20 years of her marriage, somewhere around there. I can't remember when she stopped working. It was somewhere when I was in maybe middle school. I can't remember exactly. It's been a while. All right, let's continue listening to Sarah.
let's bring some other things to the table besides sourdough. Guys want to be mentally stimulated as well as physical, okay? But I'm just like, please, you guys are too young to be promoting this. And also, by the way, it's cringe.
What's cringe, as the youngins would say, is giving bad advice. This was full of bad advice. I like, and I can't show it up on the screen just because of the nature of how everything works. But on X, one of the comments from Michael says, "Every before the but is BS." Yeah, yeah, that's basically what it is. It's like if you say when there's a but, whether the word itself is in there or whether you've got one commentary and then the follow up commentary just simply contradicts it. Basically, the beginning was the BS. The ending is what they really are trying to tell you, right? Like that's what that means. And like, there's so much wrong in this. Like, how long was that video? That video was not that long. That video was 58 seconds. And there was so much wrong. Like, she's like, guys want to be mentally stimulated. And it's funny, one of my one I actually answered a comment just this morning while I was doing some work and setting things up. It was kind of funny because one of my friends bounced off of that, one of my mutuals, and she said, she asked, she was like, guys, she said, men, is being intellectually stimulated by your wife important to you? So here's what I said. I said, in the bedroom, yes. We're not gonna dive into details. You'll figure that one out. Do we want a woman who has a solid mind otherwise? Well, also, yes. Does she need to be an intellectual or have many degrees? Not necessarily. A woman with a good head on her shoulders is priceless, right? Like, at the end of the day, for me personally, and I think a lot of men share my view, I would like to come home to somebody, or I work from home. So when my wife comes home, because she has to work away because she's a real estate agent, so she has to leave the house many cases. But when she comes home, I like somebody that I can have a conversation with about whatever's happening or whatever's on my mind of the day. Does that mean that she needs to be fully informed about everything and have opinions on everything? No, it's not what that means. And if there's a topic where she's got more knowledge about that than me, that's cool too. Right? Like, when it comes to real estate, I defer to her. Like, you have that knowledge. And when friends will come, like some of my friends will come to me and they'll go, well, DL, I got a question about this real estate. Blah. I'm like, whoa, 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 hold up. Let's go talk to my wife. Let's go talk to Christy. She is the one with that requisite knowledge. I do not have that knowledge. And it's fun because I love saying this. I love it when people ask me because I can go, I bet Christy has an answer. And if she doesn't, which would be rare, but if she doesn't, she'll know who to talk to. And man, so far, every single time she has had an answer. Sometimes the answer is a little bit thinner just because maybe the topic is a little bit something that she's not focused on. But like, I have never seen her not have an answer because she is just solid. And I love it. I think it's great. It's awesome. I know that I can count on her to have an answer. Or in the very, very rare situation where maybe she's not as familiar, she knows who to talk to, right? She knows who to point. She can point you in that right direction. And I love that. I think it's great, right? Um, my wife is better at math than me. Right? Yeah, I'm okay admitting it. Like, whatever. Is it because she's Asian? Maybe. Or is it just because she's an engineer and she was good at math? Also, that's probably, maybe it's both, right? And it's okay. Like, but I tell you this, when when I get one on her, like a math problem, who struts around the house? Yeah, you know it. This guy, this guy struts. All right, um, so like this video, I like. There's so much wrong with this video because she's basically telling women this ideal life that you might be looking for doesn't exist. And I say it does exist, but you have to work to find somebody that also wants that life, and then you have to recognize what are the trade-offs. Am I happy with that? My mother told me this. She said, "When you're looking for a wife," she was telling me this. "When you're looking for a wife, make sure that if they never change, you're happy with that." Like, that was her biggest advice to me. Like, if they never change, because she said a lot of people get into relationships and they like a lot of what they see, but there's some elements that they don't like. And then they spend all their time trying to change them. Or as the saying goes, I've heard it said before, women will, it's directed toward women, but it applies to men as well. Women will spend, large amounts of their marriage trying to change a man into what they want him to be, but then find out that they're unhappy if they actually are successful, right? Like, they're unhappy with it because they're like, oh, I thought I wanted this. No, no, no. start with, if they never change, are you cool with that? Right? Like that would be my biggest advice to anybody. Now, let's look at some of the commentary on this video that I saw. Let's see. And so this is the first one. So I no, I'm sorry, I take it back. The woman in the video, I think her name was Emily, and I was confusing it with this Sarah. So it's not Sarah, it's Emily. So this is Sarah now who is responding to that video. And she says, not to pick on Emily Saves USA. By the way, you're not saving USA with that kind of crappy advice. Sorry. It is. It is. And dad has to lay it out and give it to you straight. Anyway, because I've been seeing a lot of girls on the right counter signaling the trad stay at home mom lifestyle lately, also, but I think this message is ridiculous. Being a stay at home mom is not being, quote, trapped by a man. That's feminist BS. Sarah is correct. It is. Now, that doesn't mean that you might not be trapped if you did not think it through, right? Like if you didn't think like, "Hey, I never want a career," right? Then it might be trapped, not because of the man, just because of the circumstances. Again, if you spend 10 years out of the workforce, that's 10 years of experience you don't have. You're basically like a teenager going to get a job, no experience. Uh, she goes on to say, it is also not impossible. I have multiple friends in their early 20s currently who are stay at home moms. Also, my mom was, and the same going on here, the same with most people I grew up around. You also don't need to have a career to, quote, mentally stimulate a man. I'm sure none of them care about that. Baking bread for your family is not cringe. It's actually more important than any little 9 to 5 email job that you'd be doing otherwise. I could go on, but the main point is that I'm very tired of our big conservative voices constantly echoing these feminist sentiments with no pushback. She's absolutely correct, right? Like this attitude is really a feminist attitude. It's that girl boss, like, this is the preferred life, not that one. And what I'm telling you, as a man who has, let's see, 17 years of marriage experience, over 2 marriages, 5 and then 12, as somebody who has that level of experience, somebody who observes the world, who grew up with somewhat of a trad life family, right? I'm telling you, it is totally possible. She's absolutely correct. You can have it. And I'll tell you some stories in a moment here. Let's continue um, looking at these slides here. So what do we got? Matt Walsh chimed in. Now Matt Walsh is funny because um, I feel like him and I agree like somewhere around 50% of the time, and then disagree roughly about 50%. It might be a little bit more than that we agree, but somewhere around there. Because he's politically and personally conservative, whereas I'm only personally conservative. I do not try to impose my conservative values, the ones that I do have, through legislation, whereas your politically conservative, or your political conservatives will. Anyway, he goes on. He says a huge number of conservative influencers are actually left wing feminists who despise the very things that conservatism, by definition, is supposed to be conserving. Then he goes on to say in another comment, he said, if you think that stay at home moms are stupid and they're allowing themselves to be, quote, trapped by a man, as this woman says, then you are not in any meaningful sense right wing or conservative. I don't care if you also like Trump or whatever. He's correct. He's absolutely correct. Like, this is a feminist attitude, which is fine if you're a feminist. But if you're not a feminist, you should probably reevaluate and say, is this the correct attitude? Now, again, we're talking about the attitude of downplaying and telling women you can't have it. It doesn't exist, in scoffing at it. We're not talking about saying, hey, evaluate what it is that you want in life. What do you want? So let me tell you a quick story. When my mom met my dad, um, my I think, if I understand the story correctly, my mom was working as a waitress, and my dad would come in And I think she was either, so my dad is my adopted dad, not my biological dad. So I believe at the time she was either on the edge of leaving my biological dad or already had. Little unclear about that particular part, but it's somewhere around there. So she was a waitress, and my dad would go to the restaurant that she was a waitress at, and this was in West Palm Beach, Florida, and they decided to go on a date. Now, I don't know about the chronological part of this, but I think I'm getting it correct. Again, this is I was like 3, so I wouldn't know it personally, and I have to try to remember from the stories that I heard, which they never really told me the story, in one long sitting. So I heard story here, story there, story, and so I'm putting it together to the best of my ability. Um, so they went on their first date, and my dad just asked my mom a question. He said, "Do you believe in God?" My mom said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "I'm going to marry you." And she laughed in his face. She literally, that's not a joke. She laughed at him. And then he kept pursuing her. But here's what sealed the deal. Okay. And this is important for all you quote unquote incels out there, the red pill guys that act like there's no good women out there. Okay. First of all, work on yourself. Quit worrying about you can't change all the women out there to be what you want them to be, whatever that means, so that you can have your life, whatever that means. You work on you. You make yourself a value add to women, and then you will find a woman. There's 8 billion people on the planet. There's like 240 million adults in the United States. There is somebody out there for you. So knock it off with your nonsense. So here's what my dad did. My mom got sick and she ended up in the hospital. And I don't know what it was that she got sick about. My dad, I don't even know if they were actually dating or if they were just talking. But he showed up to check on her and see how she was doing. And this is where, again, the chronological part of the story is a little confusing to me. I believe that she might have been dating another guy or living with another guy, or maybe she was living with my biological dad. Just not clear. But she was living with somebody. And whoever that somebody was didn't show up to check on her in the hospital. She's literally living with somebody. And he couldn't be bothered to show up, whoever he was. But my soon to be adopted dad, who told her, "I'm going to marry you," because she believed in God. Like, I'm sure there was more to it. I'm sure they had talked about things and he was like, "Man, I really like this chick. I hope she believes in God too." I'm guessing that's probably what was going through his mind. Like, man, check, 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 check. She's like checking all these boxes, if you will. And then he's like, "All right, let's see if she checks this one. Does she believe in God? I want a woman that believes in God." And they weren't like super evangelical at the time. I think it was just like, "Do you believe in God?" It was that simple, right? There was no like Proverbs 31 woman, none of that stuff. And so he shows up at the hospital and bam, that's what sealed the deal, right? Boom, he's in. Like, and think about that. He was there for her when she needed somebody. That's a big deal. And that's what people want. My wife wants somebody to be there for her when she needs it. I want somebody to be there for her when she needs it. Oh, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I want someone to be there for me when I need it. I totally got that wrong. But you get my gist, right? Like that's what people are looking for. Marriage, relationships, they're simultaneously complicated and not complicated. Like they're complicated in that it's a different person. And that different person has various needs. Maybe they don't always communicate so well. Maybe when they do communicate, they articulate it poorly, right? And so you've got to work those things out. It's the running joke where I've told people that a lot of times, like if there's an argument, and I say it like this: imagine a man comes home and his wife is frustrated, and she's like, "You never take me out," and then the guy's like, he's thinking like, "Okay, that's an absolute phrase. I took you out last Thursday. What do you mean I don't take you?" And so they have this argument and the guy's like, "But I took you out last week. Why are you yelling at me? Why are you upset?" And she's like, "You never take me out." Whereas what she might be trying to say is, and she's not articulating very well, is you take me out so infrequently that it feels like you never take me out, right? Or it may be something entirely different because as humans, we sometimes miscommunicate our own feelings. And so, in that sense, it's hard. But on the other hand, it's actually kind of easy. Pay attention to them. Do things that will make them smile. If you're a guy, there is nothing that you can do better than make a woman smile. And it's not that hard. You don't have to be a funny comedian, right? Most men are not really comedians. We just try to have a good personality, and women tend to like that. Like if like most of us married men, we have a good personality. We sometimes make our wife laugh, right? And you got to find out what makes her laugh or what makes her smile. Let me tell you a story. When I was dating my wife, when we lived in Charlotte, my wife's Asian, and she grew up in Indonesia, and she came here when she was 18 to go to college. So the first 18 years of her life, she had Indonesian culture. She did not have American culture, which means there's a lot of things that she just misses. So if I make a reference, she may or may not get it depending on when that, you know, at what time frame does that message occur and what was she around to experience that. So for instance, if I were to say, hey, it's just like the Goonies, it's our time now, a lot of people my age are going to understand that reference because when they were growing up, they watched the Goonies and they saw that scene where they're down in, in the cavern and they're all ready to give up. And then the one kid is like, no, no, it's our time now. Up there, it's their time, but now it's our time, right? Like a lot of you are going to understand that because you grew up in that culture. So you'll understand that reference. My wife wouldn't necessarily recognize that. Some of them she will, some of them she won't. Okay. So she was at work and she was working for corporate America. And she kept saying this phrase, the pink elephant in the room. And what she meant to say was the big elephant in the room, the elephant in the room. And for whatever reason, the wires got crossed and she called it the pink elephant. And she'd be like, let's talk about the pink elephant in the room. And so here's what I did. I went to like a hobby store and I found an elephant and I painted it pink and I gave it to her as a gift. That's what I did. And she loved it. She thought it was great. And then she like would take it to work and she would be like, let's talk about the pink elephant in the room. Right. And and this was just a play on the fact that she got this cultural phrase incorrect, but we ran with it and had fun with it. And it made her smile. Those are the kind of things that you do. You just look for an opportunity to have a little bit of fun, not make fun of her, right? But have a little fun. In that sense, it's not hard. Just look for opportunities to have a good laugh. And try to do it in a way where it's very clear you're not making fun of her. Because in that case, I wasn't making fun of her. We were just having a good laugh at this idiosyncratic um, idea. I guess that's a good way to say it. This idiosyncratic, uh, her misunderstanding of an American phrase, right? Let's put it that way. And so it's not that difficult. All right, let's see what else people said about that. So that was Matt Walsh. Then you had Joel Berry here, and I believe it's Joel Berry I think he's the guy. I can't remember who he is. I think he might be the guy that runs Give Send Go or started it. I think I could be wrong, but he says my wife was trad before it was trend. Before it was a trend, we were willing to be poor to make it happen. Totally worth it. Stay-at-home moms contribute more than sourdough. They are doing the most important work of all, the formation of the souls of our children. Everything a man does is to serve that end. I agree with him. Then he goes on, he continues on, he says, the stay-at-home mother who raises children is central to all civilization. It deserves to be celebrated. I agree. Also, I suspect most of the feminist counter signaling of stay at home moms is just a desperate cope for beleaguered working moms who never see their kids, trying to justify what they're doing. You know what? I can't disagree with him. I think that's what a lot of that is. I think a lot of people are looking back and what they're really signaling is they're trying to justify the path that they've taken. And here's the thing you shouldn't have to justify it. take a path and enjoy it. Seek it out. If you want, if you're a woman and you want to have a career, then enjoy and have a career. You don't need to justify and say, "Well, I didn't live that stay-at-home life because." No, no, no. You don't have to justify it. Just say, "Hey, look, I wanted to work. I thought it would be fun. I really enjoy whatever it is that I'm doing." And there are women like I know women who are HVAC uh, repair women, I guess. They work in HVAC. Okay, cool. That's awesome. If that's what you like doing, then do it. I follow somebody, Mary Tiles, Texas. She is in construction. She's always talking about, hey, join a trade. And she does like she posts a lot of pictures of the tile work that she does in bathrooms and stuff like that. And so she works in construction. Like that's great. And she loves it apparently. So awesome. Good for her. My wife loves real estate. I mean, there are moments where maybe she doesn't love it, but she does. She enjoys real estate. She enjoys the win. And that's great. That's awesome. But also, if you're a stay-at-home mom and that's what you like to do, then you don't have to justify and go, well, no, no, no. This is the life I wanted. That's it. And if you're a man and you're looking for that stay-at-home mom, then say, hey, look, I'm looking for a stay-at-home mom. Here's what I'm going to do to make sure that the woman that I find that's going to be a stay-at-home mom can be successful. Because in my opinion, as a man, you are the leader of the house. And I don't mean like you have the final say on everything and everybody looks to you or if they're allowed to do something. That's not what I'm talking about. That's gibberish. What I'm talking about is your job is to support the members of your household and help them find that level of success. So here's another story. Once upon a time, my wife was not a real estate agent. She was just in real estate. And I'm not going to try to get into the details here, but there's this thing called selling a contract. And it's a very fine line where somebody is almost acting like a real estate agent, but not. And it's very easy to cross over that line unintentionally. And if you cross over that line, then you can get in trouble. Well, guess what? That happened to my wife. She stepped over the line. It was an accident. She got reported and she ended up being fined several $1,000s. And here's what happened. She told me about it, and I said, "All right, well, I used my libertarian powers of autism. I don't really have autism. It's the running joke, folks. But I used my powers of digging in, hyper focus. And so I read through the law as much as I could because I was like, all right, let me see if I can find an angle to like get her out of having to pay thousands of dollars, right? Because it's my wife and it's our money, right? Like we're both working for the good of the family. And I looked and just it wasn't there. She stepped over the line. So we did our best. She ended up getting fined. She got a lawyer. The lawyer, at least, I think they got her a lower fine, maybe, if I remember correctly. So here's what happened. That's not the really important part of the story. The really important part of the story is I just said, well, I guess we won't make that mistake again, will we? But I otherwise support it. And that's it. That's the most negative thing that I said to her. I said, guess we're not going to do that again. And I said we, even though I actually had nothing to do with it. Like this was, but I said we, because we're a team. We win together, we lose together. And she later told me, she came back and she said, I am really thankful that you didn't, wave your finger at me. You didn't give me a hard time. You stood by and you supported me the whole time. Thank you. And I said, absolutely. It's my job. My job is to support you. Now, does that mean that I never tell her, no, that's a bad idea? No, I will sometimes if I think something is not a good idea. And I might be a little bit more on the conservative side in that sense. She's not quite the risk taker, but she's a little bit more of a risk taker than I am in real estate. And some of that's probably because she understands real estate in a way that I don't. And so I tend to be more conservative because of that. But if I think something's a bad idea, I tell her. If I don't like something that she's doing, I tell her. I'm not rude about it. I'm well, okay. Maybe sometimes. Not I don't mean to be, but sometimes I'm a little on the gruff side. I'm the kind of person that I have to work to bite my tongue because I might just go, that's stupid. And that's not edifying and it's not productive. But sometimes I can be a little brutal in my honesty. So, um, that was me being there for her, right? I was supportive of her. And if you're going to be a man and you want to marry a woman that's got a job, you need to be prepared to be there for her. Sometimes you just need to hear her gripe about something. Sometimes you need to jump in and do your best to try to help fight back. Uh, you know, like that's part of a good relationship. That's what people want. They want somebody that are going to support them. Now, if my wife was a stay-at-home mom, she would want me to support her in that way, right? And that is the role of every man. Support your wife, know what you're looking for, know what she's looking for, find somebody that's looking for the same thing that you are, and then work your butt off to make sure that she is successful in that. And then work your butt off to make sure that you have a good relationship. Relationships are tough. They're also easy. Like it's a simultaneous weird thing, but that's the case. Now, in a moment here, we're going to talk about from the woman's side. Before that, I want to tell you, I mentioned a moment ago that sometimes I can be brutally honest. And you know who else is brutally honest? My own son. Although it's because he's 6. Like he doesn't like he's developing a personality. I don't know that he will be brutally honest when he gets to be like 20 and, older and whatnot. But kids are always brutally honest. So here's what happened yesterday. We're at dinner. This is just a fun story. And then we're going to take some comments and then we're going to go to intermission and we'll come back and we'll talk about the woman's side of this and what spurred this whole episode anyway. So yesterday at dinner, I'm telling my wife about something that happened at work. And it was a little bit annoying with me. Not with me, but just the situation was a little bit annoying. So I was telling her about it. And we have this rule at dinner where if mommy or daddy are telling a story, our son has to wait, maybe put his hand up, but he can't just because sometimes you're talking, all of a sudden he'll be like, you know what happened in Minecraft the other day? And you're like, whoa, 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 hold up. Somebody's telling a story. You're interrupting. You can't do that. That's rude. So he tried to tell. I was like, hold on. I was like, daddy's telling a story. So I continued to tell my story. I promise you that story was only like, it must have been under 5 minutes. It couldn't have been that long. Like it was not a very long story. So he waited. And then when I was done, he looks at my wife and he says, Mommy, I had a story to tell you, but daddy talked so long, I forgot all the words. Oh, fun times, right? And no, he did not get in trouble in any way whatsoever. I had a little laugh and I just said, sorry, buddy. And then my wife was like, hey, maybe next time you raise your hand and then daddy will speed up his story. Something like that. All right. So let's take a look at some comments here. Let's get our comment music going. And then we'll see what's going on in the live chat here. All right. So let's see what we got here. Oh, a good fair amount of comments here. So let's see here. Yes, my VA lady says, show support for Liberty Dad by sending in a Rumble rant. Click the green money button. If you want to support the show, that's one way you can do it. And I will do my best that if I see one, that I will put it up on the screen. If I miss it, I swear it is on accident. Let's see what else we got in here. And hopefully Rumble will do something like StreamYard does, where they can you can queue up the comments so that as they're happening, I can queue them up by the time we get to the live chat conversation part of the show. Then I can go through them. But for now, I just have to rely on trying to get it right. Let's see what else. Not Joe Hanoush says Rumble watch hours go burr. Yes. I'm not talking about it as much right now, but I'm in the Rumble Creator Program. And one of the things that y'all can do is watch the whole show. Seriously. Help me out. Promote the show and let other people watch it and encourage other people to watch the show. I have to have 200 watch hours for the month to stay in the program. So if you want to help me out and you're like, hey, man, I'm strapped for cash, I'm busy supporting my trad wife, that's cool. Just promote the show. Just watch the show. That goes a long way too. Let's see here. Oh, let me take that off the screen. What else we got in here? Libertarian JRT. Always good to see you, DL. indeed. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody, you as well, JRT. I appreciate everybody that shows up and chimes in on the comments, watches the show. If maybe you just watch silently in the background, or later you come by and you drop me a comment and you say, "Hey, Dad," or not Dad. Please don't call me Dad. That would be weird. If you say, "Hey, Liberty Dad," I am a dad, so it kind of makes sense that I make that Freudian slip there. But if you come by later and you're like, "Hey, great show," or a criticism, constructive or otherwise, like, I pay attention. As long as it's not too rude, I'll probably think about it, at least at a minimum. Let's see what we got here. Oh, we got one. My VA lady threw in a Rumble rant. Rule number 1 of fighting, Mr. Rhythm. That's the algorithm. Never say his full name together without breaking up the syllables or saying something. Mr. Rhythm, Al Gore. He has rhythms to punish you for saying it. Okay, so I guess I'm not supposed to say the whole word all at once because the deep state of social media is watching and they will punish me if I say it. So I have to say, like, Al, and then pause, and then say Gore, and then pause, and then say Rhythm. And then you guys know, right? It's like the human CAPTCHA. All right, let's see what we got here. My VA lady says, my new side hustle is a work at home business. I love it. Hopefully it will be full time soon. Unfortunately, I work away from my house 2 days a week still. And because I know things, her husband is supportive. That's a good thing. Husbands, be supportive of your wives. Let them know you're going to support them. And make sure that you compliment them. Like, sometimes I just go down and I tell my wife, just out of nowhere, for no particular good reason, I just say, "You're an awesome wife. You're an awesome mom. You're an awesome real estate agent," right? I just say it randomly for no good reason. I mean, it is for a good reason, but I mean, like, there was nothing that happened before that would have led to, oh, that's why he's saying it. Just saying it out of nowhere. Not because I'm making stuff up. It's totally true. My wife knows that I don't just say nice things to please her ears. Trust me, she knows that. Let's see what else we got in here. I think that is it for the comments for now. Wait a minute. Yeah, nope, I got them. I got them all. So post this up here. Oh, that's just a link. I don't want to post a link because you can't just go to the. So my VA lady posts the link in the chat. So if you want to go to Rumble and watch it there. Now, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and stay there. I'm trying to grow there too. I don't want to try to pull everybody over from YouTube. Promote the show. If you're feeling really froggy, then cue them up on both. Watch them on both. That's cool. I don't mind if you watch me twice. That's cool. All right, let's go to intermission, and then we'll be back and we'll talk about the woman side of this. Hey, Liberty fam, do me a favor. If you enjoy the show, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button to my channel. And for the really serious folks out there, I want you to hit that bell so that you never miss an episode. By the way, if you want to support the show, head over to LibertyDad.locals.com and sign up. For $5, you can be part of this show. There, I'll engage supporters of the show. We'll discuss topics that you want me to talk about, response videos that you would like to see, or anything related to the show. And I'll even have a monthly subscribers only episode. By the way, I'm always looking for dads to join me for Dad Talk. That's my series where I invite everyday dads on to talk about what's important to them in the context of being a dad. No argument, no debate, and dads choose the topic. It's my way of raising dad voices. If you're a dad or you know a dad who has something to say, let's get connected. Episodes air live on Friday mornings or Friday evenings, whichever works best for dads. All right, let's get back to the show. And we're back. All right, let's dive into this. I went a little long, on that first half there, so I may try to expedite this second half, although I've got a little bit more content. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's see what we got. Here's the second video. I love this video. This is what actually started, this is what initiated the idea for today's show. So here we go. All right, I want to pause this.
At her parents' house.
Let me go back to that.
In an extra bed.
I want to pause it a little bit here. I want to go back in case you're just listening on the side. It starts off and it says, if you are a girl, take notes. We need more of this in our society, right? That's what it says. And then it goes into this story this guy's telling. So listen.
At her parents' house, like in an extra bedroom, having lost everything. And my one Hail Mary play of this launch, the money did not come through. And I was like, I think you should leave me. I think I'm a sinking ship right now. And I would respect you. Like, we're cool if you want to walk away. Like, we're good. Like, I won't think less of you. Like, I will walk away from you right now. Because this has a very high likelihood of not going right. And she pulled my chin towards her and she was like, I would sleep with you in our bridge if we can't do that. And it's hard to comprehend. Like, I had nothing. She believed me. And I think that's what most guys want. True. At least for me. That's what I want. Or needed.
All right. Why is there dust in my room? It's dusty up in here. Okay, let's talk about it. Bringing a tear to my eye. I'm like, it's okay. I'm a man enough to, tear up a little bit. It was a beautiful story. Here's the thing. You know that phrase, that saying, behind every powerful man is an equally powerful woman, and you hear variations of it? That's why. Because every man that's, like, maybe not every single man, there are plenty of single men who've, made their success and didn't have a woman with them, but quite a few men who are successful. I would say the majority of successful men had a woman by his side that would say the same thing. Man, I would sleep under a bridge with you if it came to that. And I think that's a beautiful story. So let me tell you, like, I don't have a story that compares to that. Okay. But this whole podcasting thing with Rumble recently, specifically, that is one that comes kind of close for me. So I've been podcasting for about 4 or 5 years now. And initially we decided, hey, let's invest in some equipment. We have the money. And if you make money, that's great. But if you don't, like, we're cool. So we're good to go. Like, we know this is starting out as a hobby and we're going to see where it goes. And eventually I'm like, all right, I would like to start monetizing. I feel like I've done it enough that I feel like, yep, this is a good path for me. I'm proud of the episodes. I'm on episode 498 right now. I'm almost to 500 episodes. How crazy is that? And I look back and there might be 1 or 2 episodes where I'm all like, maybe that one was pushing it. Maybe that wasn't such a good, but almost all of my episodes, I'm like, yeah, I'm really proud of that. It was either a good episode that I would do again, or it's, I learned something from it or whatever. There's some value in that. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to trying to monetize. And turns out monetizing in a saturated world where everybody in the world has a podcast, it seems like, man, it is an uphill battle. Like, I told my friend the other day, I was like, I know what it feels like to be a starving artist. I'm not really starving, but I kind of get it because it's just a lot of work. And the more I try to get back from this podcasting, the more work I have to put in. It's crazy. And so in the middle of the month, last month, in the middle of April, it came across my wire. I think I saw it before, but I didn't really put a lot of attention to it. But I realized, like, oh, there's this Rumble Creator Program, and I would like to get in it. And I looked at the requirements, and it said you got to stream 30 hours in the last 30 days. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm looking at I'm looking at the information, or I'm sorry, I'm looking at the stream that I had done, and I was like, okay, I did the calculation, I worked it out, I used AI to help, and so I was like, I got to do a bunch of streaming in order to have 30 hours by the end of the month, right? So that I could apply for this. And last Sunday, the 27th of April, I was supposed to stream, and I went out to do work on a rehab that my wife has and that we've been working on together. And I came back home and I was just kind of tired because I'd been out in the sun a bit, and I was just kind of wore out, and I had no energy to do anything. I was like, you know what? And I stayed there longer than I'd expected. So I was there till like 5, maybe 5:30, something like that. And so then I came home and I was like, man, there's there's nothing left to give right now for this podcast. And I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to make it. And I still had like 8 hours or something that I had to throw in. And I was like, by Wednesday, and I was like, I just don't know if I'm going to make this. And so I kind of went to bed a little bit grumpy. And then I woke up and then I decided, no, I can totally do this. I can make this happen. And so I talked to my wife and I was like, look, I'm making one final push, but I'm gonna need some help here because it's going to mean that I'm not going to be able to fulfill all the things, all the responsibilities in the same way for the next couple of days. And my wife said, you can do this. You got this. So go ahead. Actually, I think it was Sunday night that I decided I had something came into me and I was like, no, I just can't quit. I think it was Sunday night. And so I told her, I was like, I'm going to get up early and I'm going to stream. And I'm going to stream a little bit early and then I'm going to stream again later that day, maybe tomorrow night. Like I was like, I'm just going to do a bunch of streaming the next couple of days. And she's like, I got your back. You can do this. Good luck. So then I streamed and I managed to squeak in there, right? By like 10 o'clock on Wednesday, I saw it come through that I was eligible to apply. And I was like, whoa, I was like, yeah, right. I was excited. And so then I showed my wife, I was like, look, I applied. And she's like, all right, good luck. And I was like, I think that they're going to accept me because I think, at this point, the only criteria that they're making sure of is that I'm a real person. Like, because they said something like you have to be on screen or an avatar on screen. So they kind of wanted some sort of realistic person. They didn't want like a bunch of narrating or reading books or something like that. And so now I applied. And so I told her, I said, I feel like a little kid who's waiting for that girl or guy to call me. And I'm just like standing there by the phone, just like, did it ring? It's about to ring. It's about to ring. Right. And then finally the email came in and said, congratulations, you've been accepted. I was like, look, I got it. And she was excited. She's like, yeah, you earned it. You worked so hard for that. Right. And that was her supporting me. And she filled in the areas where I normally do things to help me in this final push. And she's actually been like this. Like this is probably one of the more dramatic times that she's been on my side like that. Other times it's been small wins here and there, maybe like a day or two, something like that, where I'm struggling, or trying to figure something out and I need a little assist. She's always been by my side. Like we've never had the conversation where I'm like, perhaps you should leave me. Okay. But I feel like if we had to have that conversation, she would be like, bro. Okay. She wouldn't really say bro, but I'm trying to use like terminology of the day, I guess. I don't know, whatever. But she would be like, dude, no, we're in this together. And that's what a man wants. So if you're a woman and you're looking for a man, it's not hard. Stand by his side through thick and thin. Now, let me show you some comments about this because I thought these comments were interesting. So let's go to this comment here. So in response to this video, so the video, I'm going to put it up on the screen here. You can see at the bottom, it says De-Christian Life, and it says every man needs a woman like this. And so they're actually the one where this video that I saw the video from. And so here are the quotes of what people said. Matt says, and this is, I'm reading from commentary on social media. Then God said, I will make a helper suitable for him. Genesis 2:18. Agreed. Right. Kat, never lose the one who loves you like that. Never push her away. She won't come back. She'd sleep under a bridge with you, but don't disrespect a love like that. That is the one thing that will kill it. Like, agree. Like you find a woman, you like, don't put her on a pedestal per se, but put her on a pedestal. You follow what I'm saying? Like, like she's still a fallible person and, she's not a goddess necessarily, but in a sense, put her on a pedestal. Women, put your man on a pedestal. Right. And this is not in the worship sense, in the sense of like, my goal is to elevate you. And who says that? Both of them. Both of them. My job is to elevate my wife. Her job is to elevate me. And then our job is to elevate our son. That's our roles. Let's see. I'm with this girl. Awesome. Women are out there. Please don't ever say anything like this to me ever at all. Okay, you might be single for a while. I like this one. I'm that woman for each and every one of my exes, but have never met a man who'd do the same for me. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. One told me to choose between him and nursing school. Okay, men, let me tell you. Number 2, the other blamed me when his business was failing. Another said, I have no future. All wrong answers. Now, some of those might be true, men, but you need to be a leader, not just some brute that just says whatever. Like, if that's not what you're looking for, if you're not looking for a woman to go to nursing school and be a nurse, if you're looking for a stay-at-home wife, you don't phrase it like, hey, choose me or the nursing school. You phrase it like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. We need to sit down and determine if we are the right match for each other. Because if you're not going to be happy with the woman that's going to nursing school and a woman that might stay home instead of going to nursing school won't be happy with that, perhaps you shouldn't be together. Or you should sit down and have a real heart to heart and see if you can work things out. That's how you handle that. But you do not offer ultimatums like that. At best, you say, look, it looks like our futures are not aligned. Let's not cause a future divorce. Let's not cause a future, child to have to live with two different parents in two different homes. Like, let's not do that. Let's part ways now amicably. The other blamed me when his business was failing. Like, no. Now, there might be a situation where your woman caused that, but ultimately, I look at it and I say, it's your business, right? If my wife's business fails, it's not my fault. That doesn't mean I didn't play a role, because at the end of the day, it's her business. She has to make those decisions. On the other hand, it's my job to elevate her, to edify her, to help keep her going when times are tough. She doesn't really need a whole lot of help when times are going well. But when times are tough, she definitely needs my help. That's definitely when I'm there for her, right? But she cannot blame me for it because it's her business. And it's a weird dynamic, you might think, to say like, well, wait a minute, you're supposed to support her, but it can't be your fault. You're right. My podcast, if it fails, it's not her fault. She supports me. That's her role, but it's not her fault because I'm making all the decisions. I'm deciding when to do the show, right? How to do the show, what topics to pick, all that good stuff. So it wouldn't be like I'm making these decisions in the same way she makes the decisions for her business. And sometimes we'll ask each other, what do you think? And the other person will give us will give their opinion. And then sometimes we will follow that opinion and sometimes we won't, right? Because we're making the decisions for our respective businesses. And then the last one, another said, I have no future. Men, I cannot stress this enough. Never, ever say, if you're a man, let me just say it this way. If you're a man and you tell a woman that, you're not ready for a relationship. Just plain and simple. You're not ready. So go figure out what you got to do to be ready because you're not. Let's see what else we got in here. Yeah, they want it, but when they get it, they fumble it. Women are not the whole problem. It is a woman and man problem. I'm going to put some music on for this. Seems like a good spot for music. All right. Pretty much, but women only show us. But women only show us that only 1% of men are worth believing in. That's the message they send by their actions. So, I didn't really think about this one. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Pretty much, yes, every man needs a woman like this. The women show us that only 1% of the men are worth believing in. No, I mean, more than 1% of men are worth believing in. So that's garbage right there. As far as that's the message they send us by their actions. I don't know. I'm a little on the fence with that one, but I do believe that far more men than 1% are worth believing in. And it is a twofold thing. Men, you got to do your part. Women, you got to do your part, right? You've got to deliver on something. That doesn't mean you always have to win. As we saw in the video, the guy came to his wife. Presumably he was trying hard, right? I don't know his full story, but presumably he was putting in the effort and it was just not going his way. And then he said, look, I get it if you want to find somebody else. And she was like, hell no, we're in this together. We're either going to eat bread together, we're going to break bread together, or we're going to starve together. But one way or another, we're going to be together. And look, I'll say it like this, and this goes for either side, men and women. If you're not ready to be by that person's side when they're struggling and failing, you're not ready to be by their side when they're successful. Like if I wasn't there for my wife when things weren't going well, I don't deserve to enjoy her success with her. And the same goes in reverse. If she wasn't there to be by my side when I'm trying to make this podcast thing go well, then she doesn't deserve to be by my side if I blow up and I make it big. And that can go on a smaller scale. If a guy is struggling just to get into a regular career that's not going to blow up and be super famous and all that good stuff, whatever level of success, if you're not there when they don't have success, you don't deserve to be there when they do, whatever that success looks like. All right, let's see what we got. I'm the luckiest guy alive. Promise you, that's what men think. When my wife was willing to, at the last moment, at a moment's notice, jump in and say, I got your back, push forward and get that 30 hours. I felt like the luckiest man alive. Like, hell yeah, I won. That was me winning marriage. I mean, not solely. There are other times, but that's a moment where I'm like, I'm a winner. I got me somebody that's awesome. Because does she care about politics? No. Does she care about podcast in general? Not mine, but in general. Only the ones that she listens to, which are usually real estate, right? She sometimes listens to mine, and that's cool. I'm no shade there. She doesn't like politics, right? So she has no reason to be invested in this particular podcast other than I'm her husband. And she's like, look, I'm invested in my husband's success. And me, I'm invested in my wife's success. And when each of us helps the other when they really need it, we feel like the luckiest person alive. And every woman needs to be that woman. Yes. Every man needs to be that man, by the way. Humble and ready to do the same thing for his wife. Women like this exist. Stop telling me we don't. It's true. Women exist. They're like that, right? They're there. And sometimes they'll be the stay-at-home mom. Sometimes they'll also be a working mom. Or maybe they won't even be a mom, right? Maybe you don't have kids. This is by far my most favorite comment. This is what stirred me to do this episode. From a mutual of mine, Jessica Green. She says, when they were threatening to make COVID-19 vaccines mandatory for all companies, my husband came to me and told me that if they try it, he will be forced to leave, possibly ending his successful 20-year career for an uncertain future. It was scary. Many of you remember it. She goes on to say, my reply to him was that I would scrub toilets and live in a tent if I needed to, and to do what he needed to do. Thankfully, the Supreme Court fell on our side, but I meant what I said, and I still do. Then she goes on to say, this is some good marriage advice. It doesn't happen on Twitter very often. She said, you marry the man, not his wealth or his potential or his career, just him. Because plenty of poor folks are happy. Plenty of rich people cannot be satisfied. Marry a person and marry one you could walk through hell with if you have to, because you might have to. It's absolutely true. She's 100% correct. Like, I would walk through hell for my wife. How's that song go? I would walk 500 miles, then walk 500 more just to be the guy that something to your door. I don't remember the song exactly, right? If you're an old like me, you might remember that song, but it's absolutely true, right? So let me tell you another story. I'm going to tell you a story about my mom and my dad. So I told you earlier that, and I'm going to try not to tear up, because when it comes to my mama, I get a little sensitive. So he told her when they were married for like 35 years until the day she died. And so he told her, I'm going to marry you. She laughed at him. Then they got married. And I always would joke with her. I'm like, that's what you get for laughing, Mom. So she ended up getting cancer. She got breast cancer. And I think she was 49 when she got it the first time. She went through chemo. She came out of it. And then in 2015, she traveled with us to go to Indonesia, where we had our formal wedding. And she had been complaining about like this neck pain, and she would sometimes go and work, and it would help out, like shoulder, neck pain, whatever, and it would just like basically cripple her arm. And so it got really bad when she was in Indonesia, and so we went and had an X-ray, and the doctor basically just said, "When you go back to the United States, talk to your doctor about this." Didn't really tell us much. We're like, okay. He didn't have any answers. Gave us really nothing. Okay. So we went on about our way. And my mom was struggling. And it was bad. Like she was taking all kind of like pain meds to kind of deal with it. She gets back to the States. She goes to her doctor. I get a call. My dad calls me. I'm in the middle of work. He calls me. He says, "Son, I want to tell you something." He goes, "They found bone cancer in your mom." So I immediately look up bone cancer. Like I'm on the phone with him. I just do a Google search. And the results, everything that I was seeing was extremely grim. And I crumbled. So luckily I was working for a company that I was able to visit my mom 4 times that year. And this was in 2016, by the way, 4 times, 2016, before she finally passed away. Toward the end of her life, this is what she said about my dad. And I will never forget this. It's a testament to my dad. She said, "Your dad has treated me better than he ever has in my entire life." That's what she died knowing. She died knowing, and I'm going to divulge something here, and hopefully, hopefully, Mama in heaven will not be upset, and I don't think my dad will either. Um, she died knowing that he was so good to her and so helpful that he actually, at certain points, wiped her ass because she was too sick to do it. That's the kind of person that gets you the marriage that you want, the long-lasting marriage, where you will be by their side when it's going well and when it's not. And I could tell you tons of stories of when things weren't going so well and they stuck through it together. And then stories where things were going well and it wasn't much of a fight to stick together, right? Those are the easy times. If you want to have a long-term relationship, a marriage that lasts, whether it's with somebody that's a working woman or a stay-at-home mom, number one, identify what you're looking for and know I'm willing to put in my part to help this person. You want a stay-at-home wife? Then you better be prepared to deliver, whatever that means, right? I mean, maybe you have a humble life and you don't make that much money, but you can pay all your bills and you guys can snuggle up on the couch and watch some TV every night. Great. If that's what you like, that's an awesome life for you. It's yours to define. It's yours to decide. But you got to both be willing to put in the work when it counts. And the other person needs to know you will be there when it counts. And the first time they face adversity, that could be the most telling. Remember the other day when I did the story? I talked about the story of the pit bull that attacked a woman, a girl. She had been dating her man for 3 years. And the neighbor dog, when they were leaving, I think it was her sister-in-law's house, got out the fence, came and bit her arm. She looked around and her boyfriend was nowhere to be found. And it either felt like 5 minutes or it was 5 minutes, but it was a very long time for her being mauled by this dog on the arm to the point where she actually had to take off work because she couldn't use her arm. It got mauled that bad. And she looked around and she said, after the fact, after she got out of the hospital, when she got home, she was thinking about it and she was very dismayed that her boyfriend just bolted and then went and got her sister-in-law and her sister-in-law's husband, her husband and her brother-in-law, or what, or not her, I guess her brother, whoever. But he went into the house and got some other people, and it wasn't her boyfriend that removed the dog. It was the husband, somebody else's husband that he went. And okay, maybe he didn't think that he could fend it by himself and he ran in to grab some help. But here's the problem. When she asked him about that, he said, well, I'm a little squeamish when it comes to blood. And, I was afraid that I would get bit. So I ran and got some help. Sorry, guys. Failed the very first time. Are you going to be there when I need you? Failed it. And so she was second guessing. She's like, I don't know if I want this relationship. And she's right. For me, I will sleep under a bridge if I have to with my wife. For me, I will be mauled to hell by a dog before I let my wife or my son, especially my son, because he's like 6, but before I let either one of them get attacked by a dog. That dog's coming through me first, right? Bridge sleeping, whatever. We're in it to win it. Wins and losses, for better or for worse. So, man, if you want whatever you want, figure out what you want and make sure that a woman knows you're going to deliver and you're going to be by her side, whatever that means, whatever it means. Women, same thing. Let's go back to some final comments and get the heck up out of here. All right, let's see here. Let's see here. It looks like there's commentary in the conversations among people here. So let's see here. Let's see. My VA lady points out, yes, Liberty Dad needs to get monetized in all the places: YouTube subs, super chats, Rumble subs, rants, monetized ads, 8+ minute videos, and eventually Facebook stars are an option too. Wherever you're watching, please continue watching there. Right. And then just encourage other people on that platform to also watch it. Promote my show. If you're a Facebook watcher, thank you so much. Promote me on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, promote me on YouTube to your friends. Say, hey, check out this channel. This guy's pretty brilliant, or at least halfway decent, or mediocre if you're bored, whatever. Like, however you need to promote me, please do. Rumble, same thing. Promote me where you can there. Say, check out this Rumble channel to your friends. If you're on X, you can promote me there. All of them. I'm trying to monetize on all of them and make this show something. So that's how you can help me out. Let's see what else we got. Keith said, I'm planning to share this with a friend. Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it. And let's see what else. I think that is it. My VA lady says, have a great weekend, Liberty champions. Absolutely. Keith, amen, brother. We stand between harm and family. Yes, that is a man's job. Do not forsake your duty, men. Never let anything harm your family. Have a great weekend, Liberty champions. I think we'll end on that note. So thank you so much, folks. And I will see you come Monday. I don't think that we're not going to have to do any weekend shows just yet. Might need to, potentially. I'm still working out the exact details of how I will make my 30 hours. So I will let you know Monday. But until then, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. And if you have family, make sure that you spend some time with them and enjoy it to the fullest. But for now, we'll see you later. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this episode informative and inspiring. Be sure to catch me Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. for an informed discussion on politics and culture. Make sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, or if you prefer my Rumble channel, you can go to youtube.libertydad.com, or you can go to rumble.libertydad.com. While you are there, let me know how I'm doing by leaving me a comment. You can also become part of the community by heading over to libertydad.locals.com. Remember, if you're a champion of liberty, your business is people and your product is liberty. I want you to have a great week. Catch you next time. But for now, I'm out.